Hi, Gianpaolo. Are you on mute? You're muted, Gianpaolo. Let's see. Still cannot hear you. That might be my sound. Probably is my sound. Let's try to do this. Is it working now?
It's my fault. Now you hear me.
Yeah, now I do hear you, yeah.
There was, once again, an unlucky choice of a microphone input selection or something.
Okay, it was your headphone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. No, for some reason, I had selected a kind of black channel where everything disappears. It turns out that it is useful if you have to look at one meeting while you listen to another to be able to just get rid of the sound of a meeting.
Okay, yeah.
And then you can kind of find ways to send that sound nowhere. And apparently I had done that at some point.
Yeah.
Now I'm back.
Yeah.
No, yes, anyway,
Sorry.
everything is fine. I have started teaching. That is a little bit boring, but apart from that, everything is okay. I liked your idea, but I have to sit down and think about it. I have many things to think about, apparently, of trying to really find a place for contact tracing and its effects in a formal way.
Yeah.
And a useful way as well, because I think that one central thing is to understand if you define, and the first thing is to define what contact tracing is, in some, or at least select one choice of how contact tracing could operate in a theoretical way. Because you have to choose how far away can you go, do you have a time restriction, don't you have a time restriction, etc. But once you have done that, to understand how it works on an infection tree is already interesting.
Yeah.
It's of course interesting also to understand how many other people are contacted. Usually our infection trees are the infected people, right? Not the contacted people who have not been infected.
Yeah.
And it would be interesting just to know how many these are in some kind of model where you have contacts, because it's some kind of lost time measure.
Well, unless you see the negative test as information as well.
Yes.
I didn't really think about that, but that's an important thing, actually.
Yes, it depends on what you model, because either you model the contact tree, but that would be much bigger than the infection tree. But anyway, now we have Valerie here. I'm not sure how much Valerie is interested in modeling contact tracing in a formal way on infection trees.
Yeah, no, carry on talking. I am interested.
No, anyway, Peter's idea about, and what he then wrote, that little paragraph on contact tracing, is interesting to try to formalize in some way contact tracing. And you then have, I was saying, we have various steps to do. First, define what we mean by contact tracing. What operation is it? At least that we study. Then one might compare that to practical contact tracing. And then decide if you just want to operate on the infection tree, which I think is the usual framework, or on some kind of contact tree to measure how many wasteful contacts you get in a contact tracing. Because there's a lot of, let's say, wasted work done by then going and testing people who are not infected and stuff like that. And but anyway, I haven't thought very much about it. I just found it maybe a good idea to start thinking about between teachings and exams and whatever is now.
All these other things you're busy doing.
Yes, which are happening.
Yeah. No, I think Johannes Müller did already a good job in formalizing some things. I do think that he missed some dependencies.
By that you mean what? Some old work of his, or
No, I think. Well, I
Is
didn't
there a
formally.
is there a recent art paper by him?
Yeah, on the archive. I
Uh-huh.
think by.
Can you
let's see.
send or post to do anything about the reference?
Yeah, I think I put a remark to the reference, not.
Yeah, I think perhaps you gave it to us last week. Perhaps
Yeah.
Jumpy wasn't able to be with us last week.
Yeah, but I thought I also refer to it as
I'm not.
not formally, but
I don't think you put a reference to it in this.
okay, yeah, it was Müller and.
If you find it, put it in the chat now, and then I can.
Yeah.
Anyway, hello, Dennis.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Hello, Lisa.
Hello.
Hi, Lisa.
How, Lisa?
How is everybody this morning?
There was an interruption in your sound, but I guess you said good morning. No.
Yeah.
So, do we have a paper soon? It's paper 6-point paper.
I think we probably do. I was just trying to, but I'm not quite sure what we've got here with all these various documents. I think we might need to go through and try and sort out what we've actually got and how all these bits fit
according
together.
to our strategy, now it's probably time to put it together again and see what we have, because
I think
it was
so.
together, then we fractioned it to kind of improve the parts, and now it's time to put it together again and look at it, and then hopefully the process converges in finite steps.
Yeah, I was just looking at the Dropbox. So we've got 6.0, we've got 6.1 structures, which I think was the bit that you were just talking about, where Peter has
Yes, I think modeling in a sense, right?
Yeah, but I think we're still waiting for Glenn to do something on part of that, I think, or maybe it's there, I'm not sure. And then there's Dennis's put up a paragraph.
Yes, I didn't put it into 6.1 because while I was thinking about it earlier this morning, it was telling me that Glenn was editing it.
Right, so maybe
I thought I'd better not change a file while someone else is editing it, so I left my paragraph separate.
Yeah.
But if people are happy with it, it could just be stuck in. It's got a place it's supposed to go. I don't know.
Maybe we'd better wait a minute and see if Glenn pops up.
Exactly. I mean, the scene seems a bit bitty, but we can consider that at a later stage.
And then 6.2 we've had for ages. Morning, Ben.
Hi, sorry, it's been a long time.
Indeed.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Sorry.
Good to see you anyway.
I won't gatecrash your discussion. Carry on.
Well, I'm just trying to sort out what we've actually got in the Dropbox. So I'm a bit puzzled about 6.3 because there's the one that there's the stuff that Jampi wrote a couple of days ago that I commented on that's in there.
It's down there, yes, 6.3 draft.
That's exactly. But there's also 6.3 decision support further up that appears to have today's date on it. So I'm not.
By Glenn.
Is it?
Well, no, it says by Glenn Marion. So let's see what it looks like.
So I think we need Glenn to know what's going on here. So I think those two possibly need to be put together, but I'm not sure. Or this looks like an earlier version of the one that you worked on to a large extent.
Yes.
But
Because
maybe
there was, when I looked at things yesterday or so, there was this 6.3 decision support by Glenn, but it was dated kind of the 22nd of January or something like that.
here we've got the other Ben. Oh, that's good. We just
Yes.
need Glenn to resolve a few of these
We
issues.
need our guiding light.
We do indeed. Morning, Ben.
Good morning.
We're just trying to sort out what we've actually got in these various documents. And then we've got 4, 5, and 6. I certainly think it would be quite good to put them all together and try and see what we've actually got, because I think I've lost the plot a bit.
Do you want one of us to do that now? Just put them all in the same document?
Well, I'm not sure, because I'm not sure. I mean, we're okay. Dennis's 6.1 spatial is just a paragraph that can easily be slotted into 6.1. I'm just not sure about these two versions of 6.3 at the moment and how those fit together. What you've worked on this most recently, Jampi. What can you see? What?
No, I'm right now trying to figure out if something has happened, and apparently something has happened. I would say that this, because let's see. No, I guess that what you see as 6.3 decision support today by Glenn has additions to what Glenn had posted or kind of prepared this 22nd of January, because there are additions. I'm trying to see how much additions there are.
Yes, I am too, but because most of it is
old.
Is old and your
And I wonder if what the addition is, for instance, I don't know, just in the start there is a sentence: the availability of data is crucial for model prediction. That was not present the 22nd of January, but it's just one sentence. The differences are not big compared to the 22nd of January. So there might be some differences, but not very much.
Yeah.
In that sense, the thing that you finally edited, which is the GP and VI document, has much more changes in it.
Yeah, I mean that I think it
kind of coincides with at least this added sentence, maybe by Glenn, that the first talk about data, then talk about things, and it happens to coincide in style.
Yeah.
So
we have Glenn.
Oh, good. It's what we need.
Sorry, I was busy writing and then I didn't realize the time.
That's all right.
That's very good, very good.
Well, we like people who are busy writing. We were just trying to sort out in the Dropbox. We now seem to have two versions of 6.3. There's the one that Jan P wrote a couple of days ago, which I put some comments on, which is a reasonably complete draft, I think, of most of it. if that makes any sense.
Dropbox is strange because in my Dropbox right now, I see that a couple of minutes ago, there is a contribution, which is this. No, that's the 6.1. Sorry, I'm mixing things up. The 6.3 is what it is. Today at 9 o'clock, Glenn put in something, which is 6.3 decision support.
Yeah, I literally just took some text from from 6.1, I think, and just put it there.
And you put it in, and that's the modification.
Yeah, but I haven't done anything else. So sorry, I hadn't noticed your
No, that's okay. But that's what we concluded as well, that there was one sentence different or one paragraph different.
Yeah.
Is it just that sentence at the beginning, Glenn, that you popped in?
Yeah,
About
it says
data.
this text is removed from 6.1.
Oh, yeah, okay.
About data, right?
So all we need to do is to put that in Janpi's version.
Yeah.
And then get rid of the other one.
And it so happens that we kind of agree that the first thing to talk about is how data quality and data availability and data what. So it fits well.
Okay, so does that sentence drop neatly in here?
Directly.
Yeah.
Let's go and see.
Well, we could just paste it across for the moment and worry about
put it in.
Blending it in later, I guess.
Yeah.
Because as it is written now in the GPVI version, the thing anyway starts with an analysis of, say, data and how, etc. So it fits quite well somewhere. Yes, maybe drop it just in the beginning, and then we'll see how to integrate it.
Just so that we don't all try and edit these, who is going to drop that across?
I've got them open, so I can do it if you want.
Okay, why don't you do that then, Glenn? And then the older version of 6.3 could go in the archive, and then we've just got one of each.
Yes, 6.3 draft or whatever.
Yeah, and then we could do as Lisa was suggesting, and well, we need to put Dennis's bit into 6.1, and then we've got one complete, well, or possibly incomplete, but one draft of each section. Dennis, do you want to put your 6.1 paragraph into 6.1 structures somewhere so we can?
Yeah, absolutely. If as long as no one else is editing it simultaneously.
I suspect several of us have got it open, but nobody is actually doing anything drastic with it.
Okay, that's
just close my version. So.
Yeah, I'll do the same. Right, I've closed all mine now. Right.
right.
So what is the best strategy? Do we need to just run through these briefly and see how much more work there needs to be on each of these sections? I'm not really sure how sort of finished they all are.
Yeah, I kind of feel we may be at the point where we can Yeah, let's do that, and then
and put them all together.
we can decide whether it's sensible to put them together. But
Sounds good.
And it's interesting, where is the 6 point? No, that's where it is. Okay, the 6.3944 today should then go to archives if Glenn has edited the 1113.
Hold on, I'm just moving things.
Yes.
It's kind of fun.
Yes.
But anyway,
Yeah,
yes.
I've just called the revised version 6.1 structures
Mhm.
with no extension, and I'll just pop the other bits into the archive.
The spatial one disappeared.
Yeah, and the previous 6.1 has disappeared. So that
So
should-
we now need to do, whoever would like to, should do a similar thing for 6.3, shouldn't they?
No, it's oh yes, yeah. Well,
Sorry.
I think Glenn has put the extra sentence into 6.3.
yeah,
So we can put the old 6.3, the one that's on my screen has got 8:44 as a time.
What's it call itself? Sorry.
Well, decision support.
So the decision support one should be,
I think that can go into the archive.
should I do that?
Yeah.
And
And then the other one,
having done that, we could rename that.
you can rename the one that says draft could now be decision support or something. So we've got an introduction, which
So 6.3, we'd like just to be called decision support.
I don't mind, something like that.
If that was, well, that was wasn't.
That's what the old one was, so I guess so. Her 6.0 now seems to have got a new. A lot of these have got have got a new date. And 6.0 actually changed any.
yeah. I think you'd suggested putting. Well, I'd asked the question, and I think you'd suggested that was a reasonable idea.
Oh, so you've popped some stuff in that.
From 6.1, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Great. And then 6.1's the one that we've just been talking about. What state is 6.2 in? We appear to be still waiting for a paragraph from Jasmina. Is that? I don't know whether.
Thinking of Jasmina, we've still got her little thing called brief summary, etc. in the Dropbox. I think
That could maybe go in the archive because it's been there for quite a long time, I think.
well, I wondered if anyone's communicating with Jasmina, they should just ask her to look at it and see if there are any points she still thinks should be covered, and if so, could she perhaps suggest them as edits to the relevant sections? Unless anyone else sort of has looked at them and thinks they're definitely catered for.
I would have thought we'd probably pretty much covered them. I mean, said in different ways, but yes, I mean, we can certainly go back to Jasmine, and we also need some input from her. probably Peter, you're the other person with initials on this 6.2.
I was saying yeah. Yeah, I will have look further. Let's see.
So what is the position on that one? You've, it says up the top, you've reshuffled the text. So are you waiting for Jasmina's?
Yeah, Jasmina has reshuffled. I can. I can give it a go this week.
Sorry, you can do what?
I can give it a go on the reshuffling here. And,
oh, I thought you had reshuffled. I thought I was reading.
No. That was Jasmina.
Oh, sorry. Yes. I'm misreading.
Dennis,
Yes.
on 6.1 was the only thing you did was to paste in your paragraph.
Yeah. Yeah.
I might just recover the old version because I've made quite a lot of changes this morning, which seem to have got lost.
Oh.
So I'll just.
Can you do that? Yeah.
I'll
Okay. I mean, I've closed my version of it, so it's all
great.
6.1 can be a Glenn reserve territory for while you do that.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so Glenn is sorting 6.1 and Peter. Yes, okay. So Jasmina is, sorry, I totally misread that. Jasmina has shuffled the text, but Peter hasn't gone through it. Is that right?
yeah, that's true.
Super. So, and we still need a vaccination paragraph.
Yeah.
So I'll email Jasmina after we finish and ask her about the brief summary and also about that vaccination paragraph, because I guess she's not likely to be coming now. So that gets us to 6.3 that we've just sorted, or Jan P has sorted, and we now have one version there, so we should be okay on that. 6.4 has been lurking there for a while, and this was Ben and Glenn, and that's, sorry, I need to look at it without all the changes, the markup. That looks as if that's reasonably sorted, as far as I can. I mean, once as with all these things, once we've put it together, we presumably, apart from just sort of sorting the style, we also need to sort exactly how we're highlighting the challenges, you know, the usual problem of whether they're in the middle of sentences or headings or whatever. 6.5 looks again in reasonable shape, Lisa. And then we haven't got a discussion at the moment apart from a paragraph that that Lisa has donated to the. Oh, there's Jasmina. That's wonderful. Now we can ask her the things that we.
Yeah.
Hi, were you waiting for me?
Yes.
Well, yes, of course, we're always waiting for you. We're
Sorry,
always glad.
I-
No, I didn't mean that like that. I meant we're always wanting your input.
you can say that my husband was very surprised I was on time for our wedding. So it's that simple.
That absolutely came out wrongly because it wasn't what I meant at all. I meant we always wanted your input. You're sort of crucial everywhere. So what we actually were just talking about just before you came was two things that involved you. One was we're just trying to sort out where all these sections have got to, and whether we can put them all together. And if you look in the Dropbox at the moment, there is a 6.2 on interventions, which says that you did some shuffling, and Peter needs to look at that, which he's now going to do, I think. But there's also a bit at the bottom that mentions it needs a vaccination paragraph from you.
Yeah, so I haven't actually started thinking. I was going to do it this morning, but then I got distracted.
Sure,
so I
sure.
started reading the introduction and instead put some stuff there and then realized, oh my God, 45 minutes have passed. So, and so I didn't. Shall I put some vaccination stuff there? Is that what we want? But not very much because we have a vaccination paper.
Yeah, I think it was just a paragraph that we were thinking of there. Yeah. In 6.2.
And there are not many vaccination papers anyway, even as preprints. There is one published in Science by the Leipzig groups, and that's fine. That sort of is a good one to work on. And then we'll have another one. So ours that we have as a preprint has a flavor of vaccination in it, but there aren't many. So Imperial has a couple of reports, but they're all very caveated and assumption based. And that's all what I'm going to write here.
Yeah, well, I think all we need to put really are other challenges. A brief account there for modelling. So yeah, so that's.
I mean, do we want to talk about this a little bit? What people think, or shall I draft and then we talk about it?
What would people prefer?
Might as well do it now. I mean, things we need to do, we have to do anyway.
Yeah.
The other thing, Jasmine, in trying to tidy up the Dropbox, there's still a page called brief summary, etc. jpg.docs, which is something from you with some ideas you thought might go somewhere. I think it says.
Yeah.
I was going to suggest you should look through the draft as it is now and see if you still think there are places these bits could go, or whether they've perhaps by now been covered by someone else. Could you do that? Just
yeah, I'm gonna make a note on it.
Yeah,
to see whether it fits somewhere.
Yeah, just see if they fit somewhere.
So
or remove.
Yeah. So Ben has just posted, Ben Ashby's just posted a reference.
Yeah, I saw this on Twitter the other day about just a mosaic vaccination strategies. Just
in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, mosaic vaccination, nice. Yeah. Okay. Good.
So what's the idea? You use several different vaccines.
Yeah, I've only
in a structure.
But yeah, it's essentially if you've got multiple variants and that antigenically differ, then you might be better off having many vaccines that target different antigens and the mosaic as opposed to going for one big one, I think is the gist of it.
Yeah. Okay.
I had quite a busy week. We had the paper which almost was accepted in Science, 9 months sitting there just to be rejected at the end.
Oh,
It was just frustrating because the reasons for it were, well, pandemic has moved on, but is it really our fault? You had the paper. So it was just changing it and submitting somewhere else quickly among the other things that are going on.
I think that makes publication very difficult, doesn't it? When it's, you know, when it's sort of analysis, because it's all moving on so fast.
Yeah. I will do those two things for next week.
That would be great.
Peter, do we need to do you and I need to speak to do some changes to 6.2 together, or you just want to read it?
I will read it and then send some email, perhaps some message, and then we can see what we need to do about it.
And in terms of others, so is everything, I kind of lost track now. Is everything else ready?
That's what we were just trying to sort of go through and sort out. I think, well, apart from the discussion at the end, which obviously is something to do at the end, I think it pretty much is. So hopefully, once a little bit more work's been done this week, we're in a position to stitch it all together and go on.
When I read through it, you can see, and this is not a criticism, different types of speaking in different parts.
I think that's going to be true of all the papers, and one of the jobs we all have once we've stitched it together is to try and remove those voices and make it look less as if it's been written by a committee, which it has.
So I just noted that as I was reading it and going forward and back. So I didn't comment, but I kind of read through 6.1 and 6.3, I think. 6.3? Yeah, 6.3.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't get to 6.4 or 5.
One thing that in 6.1 that we've still got a section about multiple pathogen strains and selection, which
yes,
that's one thing that we do need to.
Yes, what? Because at one point, Jasmina, I think you were in touch with
Mark.
With Mark, yes, about that. Where did we get to? I've forgotten, I'm afraid.
Well, that was more about. I thought that was more about the previous paragraph before that, about
the within host one.
Yeah.
So you mean the with genomics?
I mean, well, maybe it should just be.
I know. So you have genomics and you have multiple pathogens.
Yeah, maybe those two sections should be combined. Actually, then we have more to say.
I think that should be combined and
yeah, possibly.
So I know that the Oxford, the Fraser group is working on these type of things. If we combine them, then we just have to.
Yeah, I mean, should my job this week be to try and write something for that, and then you can add.
Well, so when you say write something about it, do you mean?
I mean, just
like a viral load and virulence and those components.
Well, the viral load sort of thing is covered by within and between host pathogen.
So what do you mean? That's what I mean. So what do you mean around multiple strain?
What I mean is, you know, how to model that in like, for example, just, you know, the obvious thing to do is to do like a fixed number of competing strains in an epidemic model with different transmission rates, I guess.
Yeah, but even more obvious than that is if you have an agent base, you just sit another epidemic later on with a different, with a different transmissibility. That's what
I guess the challenge is, how you deal with that theoretically and.
Yeah, and I've done it for my paper. I
practicality
don't know if you have done it. I've done it for my most recent one, where we have the Kent variant and potentially others. And the logic, the way we do it, is we think that one strain will always dominate because of the genetic sort of the fitness over winning. And if each of those have logistic curves, one will be always ahead of the other logistic curve in the curve. Yeah. And so therefore, if you think of the transmission potential, the contribution from one strain will always dominate.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, yeah. I mean, I suppose I'm not quite sure if I'm missing something, as in a way it sort of seems quite straightforward how to handle it, but at another level it seems impossible.
Yeah, but I think it's very easy to do it. It's very difficult to be accurate about it. I think that's what you mean. Yeah, so happy for you to draft it, and then I can add what I have done and what I think kind of is if you don't write that, but I think you will write it anyway.
And likewise to anyone else. I think I can mesh it in with the phylogenetic stuff as well, so it will hopefully come across as a bit more complete.
I mean, Peter might be interested in the mathematics of this, because I've heard the thing. So I'm interested in understanding this antigenic drift in the simplest possible way, how a strain escapes when you press it down, right? And you can really nicely, well, I can't do it yet, but I'm thinking how you can nicely just formulate this in a simple mathematical equation where you have the R0 SKP modeled, or the SKP from R0 contribution model. So if anyone has a nice mathematical way to do it, do tell me.
Hans Metz has been working on that, I think, quite a lot.
Who?
Hans Metz.
Okay, yeah.
One of the scientific fathers of Hans Heestebeek.
I didn't hear, I know him.
Okay. And I can also ask Mats Gillenberg. He might also have worked on this. And Odo Diekman, of course. But
because I think, I mean, this is side thing, but I think that's really interesting about when we're talking about how vaccination will be effective. The problem will be against these different variants later on, and the SKP that will then lead on to further transmission.
Yeah, it is very interesting. It's a sidetrack, but I'm actually a bit worried that some countries now are postponing the second dose of vaccines, and even the 3 weeks, which is there usually, might already cause some.
And it's a logistic question, as I think, more than anything else.
Yes,
by the way, let's go back. Sorry,
one shouldn't mix logistics with science too much, I think.
Sorry, I didn't mean to sidetrack us all, Valerie, and then.
No, carry on. No. Don't.
Oh, it's good.
Well, have you also seen the reference that Ben Ashby, Ben A, put?
He just left.
Yes, but he has the reference in the chat.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And it's an interesting question whether if you start vaccinating a country in a patchwork of different vaccines, what happens? I haven't read the papers, I've just read the introduction. The theme is mosaic vaccination.
Yeah, so I know about mosaic vaccination. So when he put that, I kind of, that's why I said, oh, mosaic vaccination, very interesting. Yeah, I think I haven't read it, but I think it would be nice.
Mosaic means mosaic, right?
Yes, several different vaccines,
Yes.
it patches.
Yeah, okay.
I call it
Yeah,
puzzle, but mosaic is a different way. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I read quite some theology recently, and then mosaic means.
No, not Moses in this kind.
So okay. So Glenn, you will do that next week. Sorry, I'll let Valerie and Dennis.
No,
speak
you
another-
carry on. No, you don't. I only fill gaps when nobody's speaking, but as long as you're
Just-
all.
Just to say, Valerie, on the vaccination, sorry, I haven't responded to Chiara. Is there a specific date in mind for on?
No, there's a Dropbox. They were trying to sort some dates. So I thought Kira sent you the link, but perhaps she didn't.
She did, but it's for the whole month.
I
so
know.
wondered-
No, I think ideally as soon as possible. So Kira seems to think that the beginning of March works best in terms
Okay.
of having time to organize it. So I think, one's aiming for the beginning of March if possible. But yes, I agree. It's every day there at the moment.
Yes. And
At least it's only.
okay, so I'll try to fill it towards the beginning, so the beginning of March, and if we can do it. So yeah, I'll be very happy to talk about that.
I think that would be great if you could. I mean, I think we'll probably end up with more than one session. So so that shouldn't be a problem, because I think ideally there are more people to talk than we can fit in one afternoon. So we'll probably end up with
And the other question I had was about the Juniper. Do people know about the Juniper meeting in 10 days or so?
Kira said she was going to send us round a link so that we could join up, but I don't think we've had that yet. We have a date. Do people generally?
23rd.
Yeah, I don't know whether everybody is aware of that date.
I don't know.
Okay, so it's I think it's an all-day meeting, is my understanding. But I don't.
I don't remember. I think maybe it's either full day or half day or long half day.
Okay, I'm not sure. I thought it started in the morning anyway, so I rather assumed it was all day, but I may have got that wrong. But I know it's the 23rd, but Kira said she would send information to all the IDP people with a link to.
What is the meeting?
It's Juniper. So Juniper is a sort of new consortium of UK modelling groups that aren't Imperial and the London School. So, because those are two big groups. So I think this is the idea. I'm not sure if it's all the groups, but it would include Cambridge and Warwick, Manchester, quite a lot of different small groups who feel that by getting together they could, have a bit more muscle in some sense.
It's also the stuff that's in gin, right? So it's kind of inspiring.
Well, maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether they're sending samples around.
So is it for infectious disease modelling broadly?
I suspect it's what they're doing at the moment on COVID. That would be, I mean, in the long term, yes, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I'm not involved in it, and I only know a little bit that Kira has mentioned. So I think it's to try and build a bigger critical mass for those groups in terms of, if you think about the sort of things that Imperial and the London School can both do, they're so big that they can do a lot of, for example, internal reviewing of material. And so by getting together, this group will provide a better critical mass to be able to do those things between them. That's my understanding, but other people may know more. Jasmina, you might know more about it.
That is exactly my understanding as well. So it's to merge, to kind of have a higher capacity of doing work. So like, they don't have enough people in each one, and so working together, they just build capacity.
but by creating this thing, then they can get grant funding to help with that.
Yeah.
So,
And I mean, I'm very interested to be involved with that. So I'm figuring out a way to do it, because I'm kind of a lone a UCL modeler. Valerie, we should join forces.
well, UCL has never, because I've been there for forever, or at least it feels like, and there just hasn't been anybody modeling infectious diseases there for most of that time. I worked with the people at Imperial, because there was nobody at UCL.
Yeah.
And
same with me, and I've tried my best to sort of engage people to do something, and I don't think there is an interest there at all, really.
yeah, I don't know why. It's a shame, but anyway.
Well, I mean, one thing I was told is because we have on one side London School and on the other side Imperial, and sort of, are we going to be better than them?
Yeah.
Are they wanting lots of people to join? Is this the sort of thing we should tell our departments, etc.?
I don't know. I really don't know how it's working. I mean, Julia is very involved. Julia Gog, as one of the leading people.
The thing on the Newton Institute website says the meeting will provide an introduction to the Juniper Consortium, the key goals of the consortium, current COVID-related research.
I didn't.
Okay, so it's a new project.
Oh, it's new. Yes, yes.
I think
This is
just
its
started
launch
recently.
meeting on the 23rd.
Okay, so a good time to join.
Sorry,
So I
Glenn.
think my plan is to just go and listen and see what's going to happen, and then take it from there.
It's 9:30 to 12:30.
Ah,
Okay,
okay.
good.
So it's just morning.
Okay.
Okay.
On which day of the week? What is 23rd actually?
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Oh, good. Good.
Excellent.
Okay. Back to our paper.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got.
Thanks for highlighting that.
Yeah.
What is there more that we need to talk about now? Or do we just aim to tidy up these various things and put it all together and what would be quite good would be if we could put it together and read it through before next week, really, or before we next meet, wouldn't it?
Could I also suggest a way of reading it for all of us? Because once again, we'll have the problem of everybody changing in the manuscript. And then wouldn't it be easier if we put things together and then we kind of review them, write a review? And then some kind of editor, I don't know who that could be, of course, in our group, but I have my suspicions, reads the reviews and sees a little bit what they kind of could coalesce to.
Yeah.
So otherwise, I don't know what happens if everybody changes things and moves things around and deletes parts, etc. It will be more confusing than having 7-8 reviews to kind of look at.
Yeah.
And one manuscript.
I think if we edit it, we should edit it and save it as something separate, so that which is the same as writing a review, really.
Yeah.
But keep in some way keep the comments separate so that we aren't all trying to overwrite each other. But I think the main thing would be just to perhaps read through and probably it's what Jampi had in mind was sort of fairly high level review, i.e. not tinkering with individual sentences wording for the moment, but just looking to see what's covered and how it all fits together and so on, which we can discuss. And then
especially how much doubling there is. I mean, I think that several arguments have been taken up in various places.
Yeah, so and that means that to address that, paragraphs are likely to move around and so on. So there's no point in sort of tinkering with the wording very much until we've decided exactly what goes where, I suppose.
Yeah.
So
So when do we think we can assemble it, or should we just assemble it now?
But sorry, we have one higher order question first. Now, so this is paper number 6.
yes,
Called what? Modeling. No, because we have to distinguish it from the other papers in the collection. So how should we do that? Because we will be touching upon the same thing that all the other papers touch upon, but maybe from a modeling point of view or something like that.
Yes.
What attitude should we have towards them? What's unique in the modeling paper? What attitude is the modeling attitude?
Well,
Compared to having a vaccination attitude or an estimation attitude or whatever that other papers should have. It was meant as an easy question. I mean,
Yeah, I think it's to do with the structure and analysis of models, isn't it?
I think that it's the focus is on the models themselves rather than what they're used for, I suppose, in some way.
Yeah.
So where the end point is. The end point isn't in the estimates or the uncertainty or whatever, but actually in the models and the challenges in actually building those models.
so it would be the intellectual structure with which we attack the different things, not so much how well the attack works afterwards.
Well, I guess that was my thought, but it might not be. Other people might have a different idea.
Yeah, I think it's useful to have that as well as in terms of when we're reviewing it, to sort of see how we can draw that side of things out.
By the way, are all the other papers progressing so that we will have more or less the papers that we taught from the beginning, which are what, 10 papers or 9 papers?
There's also a 4A, though, isn't there?
It's
There
supposed
is.
to be 11.
All right,
Yeah.
there are 11 now.
Potentially there are 11, Shanpi. One or two of we're waiting for them to reappear through the mist.
On that note, before we finish this call, could I have a chat with you and Valerie about a suggestion for another one?
Yeah.
May or may not be helpful.
Yes. You've got to hang on the end of this, or
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
yeah. I mean, are we talking, Jean-Pierre, is your question, are you wanting to have a good title for this bit, or are you wanting to change some of the wording, or
You mean for this paper 6,
Yeah.
the paper 6? No. I don't know about the title. We'll see that after the review. But
I mean, you could call it something like building models.
Since I guess these papers will be presented as a family of papers in some edition of the journal or a journal, then we can see the style of titles afterwards. I mean,
Yeah. Well, I think maybe that's. I think possibly in the first instance, well, I know the second instance, let's call it, because we now have some idea of what among ourselves we'd like to call it. Maybe the Valerie and I as editors should have a look at all the titles. I mean, for instance, silly little points like, would we like the word challenge to be in all the titles or in none? I think it should either be in all of the titles or none of them.
Yeah.
And obviously we can have a first, once we have more or less complete drafts of everything, we can start writing an overall introduction. And perhaps when one writes an overall introduction, one will recognize problems of overlap or missing topics or different styles or whatever. So we can come back to people. But
Well, I think when
in the first instance, we want people to do their own thing. We want a group of people to write in the style that seems appropriate to them. But if there's some big clash between styles of papers, we might come back to people and ask them to consider change.
well, when Hans will be reading all of them,
Yeah.
so he will provide.
Yeah, so he'll provide that sort of view too, hopefully.
Unifying view. So, yeah. Okay, so we'll leave the title. We won't worry too much about the title for now. So the only question really is, at what point between now and next Friday could we put all these together? Do people who are going to do a bit of work, like Peter and Jasmina, not sure who else, Glenn maybe, think they will have done whatever bits they needed to do?
When do you think, Peter? You tell me what you think, and then
I try to do things early next week.
So I mean, for example, if by Wednesday, would it be reasonable to sort of one of us to put all the bits together, just in whatever state they then are? Would that
be
give
good,
reasonable time?
And I try to do this on Monday.
Or
yeah, I mean, I can try and do this on Monday. So the vaccination part and looking through the different strains and the tidying up of that extra text is not that much time. So I can try and do it on Monday.
that would be
Very good.
great. So okay, so it
And
sounds
I think I can try and do my bit on Tuesday, so Wednesday. Saying so he's
yeah.
saying it has to be ready by the end of Tuesday. Is that what we're saying?
no, well, not
Good.
whenever it's possible for people. But I was just thinking, you know, if we had a combined one on Wednesday, then that gives us all
Yeah.
Thursday to hopefully find a minute to look over it before we meet on Friday.
And we could show it to the estimation and the data people and say, look, we've done our paper on Thursday.
well, the policy people are ahead. They've got a
Oh,
complete
really?
paper.
We have a few weeks off.
Do we
He's
want
just
to?
sent it out for comments. So
Are we happy keeping it all, putting it all in one Word document? I mean, the alternative would
for
be
the moment,
LaTeX.
Yeah.
because I think we can do that easily.
Okay.
And and probably leave the individual sections as well, so that if we want to, we can go back to easily working on them.
Yeah.
Is that
Okay.
good?
Good.
Good.
Okay, so we'll hang around, have a quick word with Glenn. Is that
Yeah, and
But
otherwise,
otherwise,
see
I
everybody.
will to go and make you
Yeah.
a copy or
Can I
whatever.
ask
you.
one question about in the knowledge of this group? It was something I was thinking about. Often this is about basic modeling, so you might have thought about it. When you model simple SIR epidemic, for example, you can see, if you do it in the Odo and Hans way and look at individual behavior, you might think of spreading events as, well, it depends on the contact rate, but also on the probability of transmission during a contact, if a susceptible and infective meet. But that probability of a contact is usually also an average, right? Now I was thinking, how do you model interventions there, like, for example, the face masks? So I can imagine if you, then the length of a contact plays a role as well. You can say, okay, pathogen is transmitted according to Poisson process during a contact. So if you have a conversation, probably a long conversation, the face mask won't help at all, because you will have so many transmission events, which are all, while in short contacts, it has a reasonable efficacy. I was wondering whether at that level there has been some modeling, because I can imagine that when modeling face masks efficacy, the culture becomes more important. Actually, it is very dependent on culture, and if only by how long conversations typical are within a culture. And it's not by how well people are used to wearing face masks, but so do you know, has anybody looked at that detail? There has been a lot of face mask efficacy modeling, but
are they modeling contacts as having, is there a lot of work modeling durations of contacts?
no, I
Because,
don't
mean,
think
a lot of the simple things is just a sort of an instantaneous or
Yes.
instantaneous thing, and then you just have a multiplier that I guess that is the effect of the face mask. But I don't know of any modeling where they actually model the duration of the contact, although there must be some.
But as long as you model this in a way that is kind of independent of individual, because otherwise it becomes an infectivity parameter of the individual, it's just a filtering of the contact process. And so it becomes at the end the probability of infecting in a contact in the end, which is a grand mean of all these things.
So,
Nothing.
sorry, do you want to go, Glenn?
Yeah, sorry. I was just going to say, I mean, I don't really know of anything that specifically looked at that, but I would maybe look at dose response type.
Yeah,
model,
okay, yeah.
Because it's sort of, that seems to be very similar to that.
No, I was just thinking of thinking about it, and it might when only now I start to think about those kind of non-pharmaceutical interventions, like
I think
preventing long conversations might be very efficient.
So I was questioning these things when we were building our agent-based, because basically most of the models, well, I don't know any actually, that have incorporated what you're asking for, where the length of the conversation affects the transmissibility, the beta parameter, if you want, in a different way than just scaling it down.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that it may be possible, so I don't know if this is right, but so you think of beta as a distribution, and that peaks at the time that you have the highest probability of having the transmissibility reach you, right, or the virus reach you. Now, instead of thinking of beta as a single distribution, you could think of it as a set of distributions. I'm drawing them with my hand as oscillatory behaviors of some type. So depending on what your length of the conversation is, you have one type of distribution, and then depending on if you have a shorter conversation with somebody who is not wearing a mask, or if you have a longer conversation with somebody who is wearing a mask, you could potentially have a different distribution. That's one way to do it, maybe.
Yeah, I'm.
But once again, doesn't it simply simplify into either wearing and not wearing a mask is a kind of random thing for people, and then it all becomes the P at the end of transmitting an infection, or else it's a characteristic of the individual, then we're into a model with different susceptibility or different infectivity. And all these have been looked at in some sense.
Yeah, but what I'm a bit for thinking about is if you get data or you get an estimate of how much does face mask reduce R naught or the effective R in the UK. Does that say anything about Italy or?
I think it's a very interesting question, Peter. Analogy to what you just said, John P, is if you think of how cells are built in the body, you have these morphogens that kind of are released, and it's not just where the morphogens appear, and it's also for how long they're there. And I think that's the analogy that Peter is making around the virus transmission between people who have a layer, or you know, in some countries they wear 2 layers of mask now, and these kind of things. And I think there is an interesting question to answer there. I don't have the answer or the methodology, but I'd be interested to maybe explore in a longer time. Does it make sense? The analogy of the cells differentiation and the morphogen. So sonic hedgehog being one for the vertebral neural development.
But that means you're looking for a model of how much effect there is in wearing these masks, or how to
exactly. I
deduce
think that's
that
what
from
Peter
data.
wants. So it's an ODE where you reach a bifurcation where you have a higher effect or a lower effect, and maybe an oscillatory behavior. That's how I'm thinking from top of my head. I don't know if that's right.
To me, it sounds more like a statistical problem, that you effectively have a kind of multi-type model where some people do this, some others don't, etc. But you just see the total effect, and then you're trying to estimate what the components really did. And that's bad statistically, but maybe from different pieces of data, you could do some kind of estimation or limiting at least of the effects. I don't know. I'll have to think about this.
Yeah, I've just emailed a colleague who works with cows and puts contact loggers on cows, and he has got information about, I think they collect information about how long the contacts last. So I've just asked him whether he knows anything of, you know, whether anyone's used that information in modeling disease spread.
But there have been also failings of simple modeling of that stuff, because during the HIV time, there were a lot of models from the start who kind of counted the number of sexual acts and said that the risk must depend on the number. But then it turned out that it didn't, that there were couples who kind of were like rabbits and did not transmit infection, and the other way around. So there was also a kind of couple parameter that some couples, for some reason, at least had, I don't know.
I think that was much more that people were only infectious at
For a time,
certain
yes.
point at the beginning and then at the end of the incubation period. And in the middle,
were less infectious.
They weren't very infectious. So if those couples didn't have any contact outside the pair, they were fairly safe. And I think that was
yes, there might have been many cofactors, but at least the simple model of just correlating number to risk did not work there.
No.
Yeah. And there was even something stranger, I think, going on when they looked at sex workers in Nairobi, I think, who didn't get infected for ages, or well, for years, got pregnant, gave birth after some time, returned to work, and got infected immediately.
No, there might be many complicated things, and the question is,
the feedback there. Yeah.
Can that be true also in these cases, or is that special to, let's say, sexually transmitted diseases or something?
That could be due to suppression of immunity around pregnancy, couldn't it? And
could be.
I think that's documented. And well, I know it's documented in sheep. I think it's for other mammals.
Yes. Okay, we have
cheerful note. I think we'll leave sheep out of it for the moment.
We'll leave Glenn to talk about his paper on the cheerful note.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week then.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
That's great. Bye. Thank you all. Thanks. Right.
Right. So I was just thinking I was waiting for it to go down to 2, but then I realized I'm still here. So basically, as a result of Richard and Ruth coming along to the meeting on Tuesday, we kind of had a discussion and realized that within our consortium, we've got this group led by Min Chen at Oxford, who focus on visualization
Mhm.
and issues to do with visualizing data and sort of decision making around, well, related to visual presentation of data and so on. And we haven't spoken to them, but we thought we'd have a chat with you first. But I think that they would be probably quite willing and able to write a paper, a contribution to this, group of papers, this special issue around sort of visualization and the challenges associated with that. I mean, it sort of overlaps with the data, but I think it's probably quite distinct from the data side of things. So it's just a thought, but
Yeah, sounds good to me. I mean,
with that, it could be. You're thinking either of a challenge paper or as a sort of supplementary, in that we're having these potentially supplementary things on UQ and such like, aren't we, Valerie?
well, the one I was sort of trying to think along the same lines. While Glenn was talking, and I think, the supplementary ones that we've anticipated at the moment are ones that don't fit into the challenges, because we've seen a need for some sort of expository paper to explain, expert elicitation or whatever, or UQ.
yeah.
Now, this one on visualization, from what brief amount you said, made me think that you were thinking actually of challenges rather than some sort of expository background. So maybe it would fit in with the challenges.
Yeah, I could
What do you
mention
think?
the idea of an expository paper as well, but I think that I think they see lots of challenges in terms of getting people to do visualization well. I think that's and in a way that's relevant.
Yeah. That does sound to me a little bit like the sort of expository thing with the UQ, but
It could be, yeah.
the way to ground it.
Yes, if it's
The way to ground it might be to have a section, a challenge or two challenges within the data paper that then link to the expository one, because that's really where UQ's gone, isn't it, Valerie? UQ.
I think so, but I suppose I think
provided part of the modelling paper, but then
Yeah.
the idea is that it might additionally have the expository paper.
I think that the idea with both the UQ and the expert elicitation was that one of the challenges was that there were these methods out there that aren't really known amongst the academic community and aren't being used. And it what you just said about better ways to do the visualization is that perhaps part of it is that they're not doing as well as they could.
I think that's
with
probably
methods that are already known.
Yeah.
So whereas in the challenges, one's thinking more about more work that's needed in order to be in a better position.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure they probably have. Obviously, they do. I'm sure they do have opinions about that. But
it's probably a mix of the two. But I think that ideally it would fit most naturally the way Dennis was saying, with a little bit perhaps grounded in the data paper or wherever.
Yeah.
And then done at much greater length.
And is the expository papers, are they part of the same special issue as that?
Yeah, that's the idea. Yes, we have agreed with Epidemics that they're happy to have a few extra papers. So as long as it all seems to fit as a whole, that won't be an issue. So,
It won't be an issue.
well, sorry. You know what I mean? Yeah. No, I think that would be good.
Okay, great. I'll in which case I'll email Min and I'll copy you both of you in.
That would be.
And the data challenge, the data paper hasn't sort of been put together as one, I don't think yet. I'm just looking at it in the Dropbox, but
No.
there's a chapter structure, isn't there? I think
Yes.
I think you and Ruth and others have access to the Dropbox. So you could have a look at what other people are doing and see if you think that sort of route would make sense. Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good to me. Excellent.
Okay, thanks. Have a nice
All right.
day.
Thanks, Glenn.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye then. Bye-bye.
Okay, Valerie, did you want to?
Oh, well, we're still being recorded. So is there anything we need to?
No, there's interventions this afternoon, isn't there?
Yes. Yes, at 2.
So we could always have a word after that if there's
Yeah,
anything.
yeah. Yeah, that will be good. I'll have a think before then.
Okay.
Whether there was something I was thinking about, and now I can't remember what it was. I'll try and bring it back up to the surface before this afternoon.
Okay, thanks.
I mean, something I was thinking about mentioning that we needed to think about, but I just can't remember what it was. Okay, anyway, we'll talk later.
Bye.
Coffee.